Note: this is part of the DC Comics universe. If you're looking to kill yourself, I can go get the shotgun, and all you have to do is hold still. Bruce ignored Alfred for the moment, his eyes scanning the videos before him of the destruction wrought by this new foe. Currently they had taken to simply calling it the end. The League had never been stronger before this thing arrived. The first any of them knew of it was when Superman reported that he was fighting something unlike anything encountered before. Then came the Satvid. It looked like a living marshmallow man. And every hit Clark threw it made things worse. At first they thought his attacks were simply doing nothing. But Bruce was the first to notice it was growing in size. And he could only feel his heart drop as Clark got fed up with hitting and his eyes began to glow. As the heat hit this thing, its growth accelerated exponentially. And it wrapped itself around Clark so fast he had no chance to escape. After a few moments, it seemed to shrink back down to the size of a normal human. But Clark was gone. The end could absorb energy. Kinetic, heat, electrical, all of it. Bruce didn't take long to work out how to beat it. Just freeze the thing and put it somewhere it could never thaw back out. The problem was, it absorbed more than just energy. It absorbed Clark. Diana went with Freeze's own freeze gun to attack it. It responded by using Clark's own heat vision to destroy the gun. And then it did the same to her as Clark. The League responded in force. Cyborg, the Flash, Batman, Green Arrow, all of them. And of them only 2 escaped. Green Arrow was somewhere in Queens. He was broken, useless. Cyborg was absorbed much like Clark and Diana. But Flash was the lucky one. He was able to vibrate so fast that it couldn't absorb him. But it did something even worse. Flash was immobile now. And Bruce was figuring out why. "Sir, I believe you might be onto something with the Tachyon scans." Bruce simply nodded, realizing exactly what Alfred meant. Somehow this thing was manipulating Tachyons around Flash that kept him from moving. The last superhero on the planet took a seat and began reading. He didn't have long. If left unchecked, this thing would end more lives. "The shotgun is still an option if you insist on throwing your life away. I promise, I'll aim at the non-vital areas first to make it slow and painful. That seems to be your preferred method of suicide, Master Bruce." "Alfred, not now." Batman dropped from the Batwing seconds before it exploded. The end had tracked him, but he could only hope it didn't know why he was here. He vanished into the ruins around him, evidence of the battle the League conducted against this thing. And then, for the first time, he heard it speak. "Bruce, what do you hope to do here?" Its voice was familiar. It was hypnotic. It was promising. "You can't fix this. You're a man playing the game of gods. Put down your weapons and accept your fate." Batman did not respond. He began moving closer to the area where Flash stood, like a statue. He was caught mid-stride, and even the bits of flame around him seemed to be frozen in place. As he got nearer, he heard it nearing him also. It was taunting him. It knew him. He could only guess that it got the knowledge from his own friends. It knew him as they knew him. It knew him as only those closest to him could. He made his way to the wall and pulled out the can of spray paint. He had a message to send to the future. Only then did he begin moving once more. He finally got within distance, the alarm beeping on his belt, letting him know this was far as he could go. Batman pulled a small chip and threw it into the edge of the field, watching as it simply froze in place. This was it. Time to act. As he reached down to activate the switch, a great force brought him to the ground. Batman looked up at it. The end. It was disgusting. Clayface would have likely found it a perfect mate. Chalky white, constantly shifting. the faces of his dead friends constantly rising from within to the surface before flowing back inside of it. Bruce, this is it. You lasted longer than them. Be proud of that. A mere man, outlasting the gods, outlasting the aliens, outlasting all except for the end. But no mere man can stand against the end. It knew him. It knew him like Clark did, like Diana, like Victor and Orin and John. It knew him as well as his allies. Thankfully, that was not enough. As it gloated, he acted. He slaps at his belt, his fingers deftly flipping the switch. No, but a mere human can do this. Electricity flew through the air, and it watched as Batman fried alive inside of his own suit. It was confused. It knew of him, and he was never suicidal. A thought in the back of its multi-consciousness warned him there was a plan here. It took it a moment to realize that Barry was moving. Flash had no idea what happened. 1 second he was running circles around the state of Marshmallow Man, the next he was in a hellscape. That thing was uglier, everything was on fire, and Bruce was smoking. Still, there was a big message on the wall dead ahead with a date on it. Flash knew what to do with that information. Before it could do whatever it did again, he shot off like a bolt of lightning. First the world was a blur of colors, then it was solid white. Then came the purest of black as light itself was left behind. But it wasn't enough. He needed to go faster. Barry put his head down and sped up. Well, I won't be long. Those were the first words he heard as he burst into the room, panting. The whole gang was there. Superman, Wonder Woman. Barry smiled, then saw himself staring back at him. Great. Another one of those paradoxes. He was going to have to stop with this. Then he saw Bruce looking slightly disappointed. He returned the frown. But they were here, which was good. But he also had no idea what to do now. It was Bruce who took the reins. Clark, you're not going anywhere. This issue is not one that can be solved by you alone. In fact, it appears that this thing is specifically aiming to get your powers from you. Diana, you and I are going to Arkham to get the freeze gun. We'll freeze it, and then John can drop it in a black hole somewhere. It took a bit more words, but finally the team agreed. Barry, the one from the future, just stared incredulously at Bruce throughout. How did he know this? Did he know it all along, and let them die? What the hell? Bruce simply looked over at him. Implanted a bug on you from the future. It's been relaying audio and video of what happened to my computer since you arrived. How the hell did you think of that? Because I'm Batman. Author's name and the link to original text is in the description.